Welcome back, everyone, on this great, we're recording on a Friday afternoon. Josh Weber here with Big Red Jelly. Episode, whatever it is, episode 2. We are going to be diving more into specific business-related entrepreneurial questions that we here at Big Red Jelly tend to address pretty frequently with other people. We want to share those across YouTube. So if you're joining for the first time, let us know either in the comments or reach out to us, kind of specific questions that you've had in a startup that you're working with. What are some of the pain points, the struggles, the rewards that you encounter? Let's chat about it. That's what we want this to be. It's for entrepreneurs. It's for people who want to be better at what they do and find more efficient ways of doing it. So today's topic came to me from a friend last week. It was actually a client when we were on a video call. He asked me what what project management tool or task management tool do you use personally and as a team? What a great question. There's a lot of task management tools out there. Some that come to mind that most of you are probably familiar with are Basecamp, Trello, Monday.com is a new one that I'm very intrigued by. Shout out to Monday.com. I like their ads too. What are some other ones? There's more simple ones on the other side of the spectrum, like Wunderlist. If you've tried that, it's super cool. Or are you old school? Do you just go with pen and paper? Do you just go with sticky notes across your desktop? Or maybe an agenda, maybe a planner? A phone, your phone reminders on your calendar. What do you use to track tasks, projects for both yourself personally and your team? The person that I was meeting with was an individual professional. He was a consultant. And so his needs are probably different than our needs here at Big Red Jelly. Big Red Jelly, we're a team of 8. And that's a big enough team where things can definitely get complicated if you don't have your task management platform in place. So let's rewind a little bit, and I'll answer the question as to which one we use and why. I'm not saying that things are going to stay this way forever. In fact, we've made several changes just over a year and a half, but I am really happy with where we're at and what we're using now. So for those of you who are wondering, what does Big Red Jelly use as their task management platform? We use Trello, and I'll go into why and what makes Trello so special and, in my opinion, great. I'm a huge proponent for Trello. Shout out to Trello. If you guys are listening to this, y'all should call me. I want to be on a case study. I want Big Red Jelly to be in the next Trello advertisement. Smash like. Smash like on this video. Ben's laughing at me. Smash like if you think Big Red Jelly should be on the next Trello advertisement. I've seen your ads, Trello, and they're good, but they could be better. They could highlight a real team like Big Red Jelly and how we use Trello in so many amazing ways, which we're going to dive into. So you're sitting there, you're an entrepreneur. Maybe it's just you. Maybe it's you and a buddy. There's 2 of you. Maybe it's you and a freelancer. Maybe it's you and a VA or several VAs. Maybe it's you and 20 people. 50, who knows? You are, whether you like it or not, you've used some form of task or project management. Again, whether it's old school, new school, whatever it is across that spectrum. I mean, then you get into like really kind of high level, it starts to get into kind of CRM land, right? Salesforce, HubSpot, where it's like CRM, email marketing, funnel, social media, posting, scheduling tool all wrapped into one, and it can also track your projects. That's kind of on the far side of the schedule or spectrum for me. It's probably going to be for bigger businesses, bigger teams, and their prices definitely reflect that. If any of you are familiar with HubSpot, they are definitely pricey. They're probably going to disagree with me, but they are, and you guys know it. They get you on the upsell. They will get you on the upsell so good, but they're good at it. Shows you they know what they're talking about. And then obviously like Salesforce. I've spent time with Salesforce working with other companies where you need just an enormous database and maybe working closely with their software engineers to custom develop something that's needed for your enterprise level kind of marketing or sales. But let's dive into Trello. So let's rewinding about a year and a half. Big Red Jelly's been around for, at that point, we'd been around for a couple of months. We're not even 2 years into this, guys, and we've learned a lot along the way. A couple of months after starting, I want to say it was a couple of months, but I knew that we needed something to track our tasks. I wanted to be organized. I wanted to do things the right way and not just kind of be sending emails back and forth. At this point, it was me, Zach, and Ben, and we were working out of the pool house at our family's home. And it's just crazy to think back at those times. We had Trello. And we were, well, let's see. I think we used something before Trello. I think we didn't have anything at first. We were sending emails back and forth, and we used Slack right away. Shout out to Slack. If you haven't used Slack, definitely look into it. That's probably one of my favorite tools out there. Slack, I want to be on your next ad. Reach out to Big Red Jelly. We've used Slack since day one. I've obviously used Slack before starting Big Red Jelly. I knew I wanted to use Slack. I love their mobile app. I love how it can integrate with different Google products. We use Gmail. We use G Suite. We love Google. I'm just kidding. Shout out to Google. So we were using Slack right away. We were using Gmail. And as many of you know, you start to kind of pick up clients. You pick up work. You pick up more projects. It quickly starts to get a little bit out of control. And you're like, oh my gosh. How do we track due dates? What do we promise said client? Let's organize things. I don't know what it was that geared me toward Trello. I think I'd heard it from a church-related activity that I was once in. Ben's pointing at himself, acting like he's responsible. Maybe he is. Maybe he's not. But there was some reason why Trello came to mind. We did do some research. We tried Basecamp briefly, or at least I looked into it. That was interesting. I think they can do great things. I looked into Monday.com too, though that was later down the road. But we ended up going with Trello. So why Trello? Why did I pick Trello? I have an older brother. He works out in Chicago. And anytime I talk about CRM or any of these processes or tools that we use with him, he always rolls his eyes. And he always says, Josh, anything and everything can be done on a spreadsheet. He's one of those guys. And I admire those types of people because it does take it takes a certain type of thinking to be able to use a spreadsheet for everything. And for some people, that's the best way of doing it. I think that's the moral of the story. Sometimes that is the best option. Use a spreadsheet. A spreadsheet can do anything you want it to. It's just, are you willing to sit down and put in those algorithms, figure it out, stick to it? For me, I'm too much of a visual guy. I've got to have that GUI interface. I want it to be visual. I want it to be fun. I want colors. And to put it briefly, if I was to explain to you what Trello is, it's a more user-friendly, visually appealing, fun and interactive spreadsheet. That's a compliment, Trello. That's a compliment. So we'll mention that in our advertisement together. But if you're familiar with Trello, the way it's broken down is, and we will do kind of a screen share next time. We'll dive into more detail. I don't want to go over exactly all the processes that we do. I don't want to bore everyone to death, but it's got boards, and within those boards it has lists, and within those lists it has cards. And at the end of the day, you take a step back. There's y-axes and there's x-axes. And you determine what goes on each axis, and you determine the dates and the data that you want to put in each one, and you can automate everything along the way. You can automate, and it is phenomenal. Now, Did it have some road bumps along the way? Absolutely. There are some project management tools out there that are more restrictive, so maybe not as much customization, but they allow you to really quickly figure out the project and do things right away. Where Trello takes a little bit of creativity. Their approach almost seems like, hey, here's this awesome canvas for you. You can do whatever the heck you want with it, but it's going to take some figuring out, and definitely plan on tweaking along the way. The way our processes look now using Trello are so different from before. I mean, before we weren't even using it close to what it should be used as. And it's because I went too fast. I just kind of dove into it, didn't look at the end result. What did I want this tool to do for us? I kind of just was using it just to use it. But now I'm super, super happy with where Trello is at for our team. It's interesting because I still get Trello's ads on my Facebook. So Trello, maybe you should talk to your guys running ads. We use Trello, and I'm getting your ads all the time. So you're getting charged for that. But maybe there's strategy there to maybe try and get me to get the next level up. But it's very interesting for those of you who watch The Office. Angela, the blonde, the small blonde lady, she was in the Trello video. And it was good to see her again. I haven't seen her since The Office, so I'm glad to see she's back at it, doing advertising. And what was interesting was Trello didn't try to advertise to like businesses in particular. If I can I might butcher this a little bit, but the gist of the ad was, you've got stuff you need to get done. Trello will help you organize it. And I think the example they were using was she was like planning a party or something. It might have been a work party, but it wasn't 100% clear. But she's planning a party, and it kind of, shows the pop-ups of Trello and how it works, and it helped her plan this party. Overall, it was like very emotionally appealing ad. I really liked it. Because it's cool to see Angela back. It's funny how I just call her Angela, but that's her name. Let's be real. That she was on there. It was like a party, kind of fun vibe, and just really light feeling. And that's kind of Trello's vibe, I feel like. But it didn't really dive into like, this is great for agencies, this is great for large businesses. So I'm really curious as to what their target market is. I'm really curious as to who uses Trello the most. What industries, what types of businesses, what size of businesses. If I was to give you a guess, I would say that Trello is probably best for teams anywhere from 3 to 20, I think, would be my range. If it's just you and one other person, I don't think Trello is worth it unless you kind of really like to be personally organized. But I think if it's you and one other person, you'd probably be more efficient to just use a spreadsheet or communicate directly with said person. You're probably working super close anyway. And if you're over 20, like, you're starting to get into that point where you might need some very custom built for you kind of stuff. Maybe that's when you start looking into HubSpot, Salesforce. But again, we've been able to build on Trello a lot of things that are offered on HubSpot and Salesforce and these other things that they would charge $800, $900 a month plus. And we're using that on the free version of Trello. I kid you not. So it's just, are you willing to put in the work to build out that process? So that's it for you. We love Trello. Check it out. This is not a paid plug for Trello. I really wish it was. Again, Trello, reach out to me, josh@bigredjelly.com. But other than that, I think the main point of this message that I wanted to get across, and the topic for our next video, is going to be the importance of processes and becoming efficient, and how you kind of couple that with creativity. When we started putting Trello in place for our team, we've got a lot of steps and processes in place, and certain recurring tasks that are due every Thursday evening, for example, at 5 p.m. We have monthly tasks that are due the last day of every month. We have tasks that are due the 8th day of every month. We have tasks that are due bi-monthly, bi-weekly, weekly, annually, and all of this is tracked in Trello. And a huge question that I get from other people kind of in our industry, which is creative digital branding and marketing, is, doesn't that constrict your creativity? Don't you feel like you're constricting your team a little bit? We don't do that because we're kind of creative. I'm sorry, but I can't help but just roll my eyes at those kinds of remarks. It may sound cliche to some, but the more that you can process out this administrative stuff, the planning, the reminders, the calendar, because you still have to do that. I don't care how creative you are. You still have to get stuff done and done on time in an organized fashion, or you're never going to get a client. You're never going to keep a client. You still have to spend time doing that. And the more that we've automated that through our project management system, the more time that gives to our team members to be what makes them best, which is creative, to be things that aren't robotic, to be things that people haven't yet been able to automate and turn into a machine, which is creativity and thinking strategically. So yeah, I think the more you process these things out, the more rules that you have. Obviously, you can go overboard, but that just frees up time for your team members. And in the long run, they're going to thank you for it. They're going to praise you for it. And it allows them to focus on the strengths that we as humans have and let the robots do what robots are good at. So I debate that remark anytime someone says, I'm not about that. I'm more creative. I'm more fluid. Yeah, yikes. Beware. I encourage you to rethink that thought process. So that's it. I'm really curious to know from those who are listening, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a small business owner, a freelancer, a big business owner, a CEO, what project management tools do you use? Are there new ones out there? Do you couple them with your CRM? Comment below. I'm really curious. Is anyone else out there using Trello? How do you use Trello? It's probably so different from how we use it. And I think that's what makes it so interesting, is that it's so open source like that. I like to say that Trello is the WordPress of the project management platforms. In other words, you can do just about anything you want with the WordPress website, those of you who are out there, WordPress developers and designers. Yet, it's still user-friendly enough that everyday folks can go on there and ultimately figure it out. Are there easier options out there like Wix and Squarespace and Shopify? Yes. Are there more complex options? Absolutely. But WordPress is kind of in between, and so is Trello, and I like that. So comment below, do you use Trello? Let me know how you use it. I'd love to hop on a call and see how other people are using Trello, the different power-ups that they use, and how we can be more efficient with that tool. Tune in next week as we talk about more processes and how that kind of drives creativity. We're also going to be doing something a little bit more fun, so stay tuned, and till next week.